Hey guys, back with our third video on the critical theorists. This one's on critical theory and the knowledge industry. So the knowledge industry, when you hear that, you want to think universities, probably as the prime example, but also research institutions that may be affiliated with the government or may be affiliated with private industry or not, or NGOs, that type of thing. Any organization that their job is to produce information, to learn about the world, and then to disseminate it out to make sure that people get it. I think the simplest example of this is universities. So professors like me, it's our job to do research in which we are obviously learning about the world, but we're producing knowledge. There was a information gap that existed, and then I go do some research and I fill that gap. That information, that knowledge has been produced, and then the dissemination of it is me publishing an article about it, but also me teaching you. I am disseminating knowledge, in this case, not knowledge that I came up with, but disseminating knowledge to the public. Okay, so that's the knowledge industry. Think universities, but kind of in the back of your mind, think research institutions as well. The critical theorists' main argument about this is that these entities have gone from serving the needs of society or the population in general and have become interested in serving their own interests. So that's essentially the argument. So I'm a part of a university. Universities are created in order to produce and disseminate knowledge for the good of the society. And to educate people so that we are able to have, for a variety of reasons, to have a better educated political electorate, to have people who are able to become entrepreneurs, to have people who are going to produce the next goods and services that are going to be needed for us. That's the point of the knowledge industry. The critical theorists say they're not doing that anymore. At some point, they have switched. And now the interests that they pursue, and you need to think about me in this situation, which kind of is uncomfortable. I care about your learning, but what they would say is that because I'm part of this university, the university doesn't really care about your learning. What the university cares about is its survival and expanding its influence over society. It's not that a whole bunch of administrators are trying to get rich necessarily, but they are absolutely trying to do things that are going to keep people coming to the university, keep tax money coming to the university. That, the critical theorist argument, takes over from the initial goal of the university, which is to produce and spread knowledge. So the reason that this happens, the reason that they would say, not that I as an individual, but that the university on the whole is more interested in not teaching you, but getting you to come, spend your money, and then getting you a college degree, basically processing you, is because we are now run by technocratic bureaucrats. They would say universities are not dominated, they're not controlled by people like me. They're controlled by administrators whose eyes are on the economics of the university rather than on the what the critical theorists would say is the proper mission, which is to turn students into, well, really basing it on what we talked about in the last video, to turn you into people who are able to live your life according to reason so that you can have a fulfilling life and to contribute to the betterment of society. That, the critical theorists would argue, is what professors care about. But they would say professors don't run the show anymore. Who runs the show are technocratic administrators who run a university the way any bureaucracy gets run. And the way bureaucracies get run is based on the idea of efficiency. So what the critical theorists would say is that you and I both have rules imposed upon us that are designed to make us as efficiently as possible meet the needs of the university. The needs of the university are to recruit students, to make the experience for them at least positive enough that they don't go dropping out or complaining about it, and get them graduated efficiently. Get them in, make it as, well, at least convince them that it's a positive experience, and then get them out. Instead of challenging, and this is, I think oops, hold on one second, I gotta, sorry. But we're 5 minutes in, so I'm gonna roll. Instead of getting you to become a student who is steeped in reason, who has the facts, and who is able to think through critically those facts, what the university does now is thinks of you as being a raw material that needs to be processed as efficiently as possible so that in 4 years you step out. That's what they say their goal is. And they say, even more to the point, universities, are supposed to be these places of learning, and learning with kind of a capital L, like this idea of you becoming an educated person. And the critical theorists say that's not what it's about anymore. Universities are more and more just about job training, people getting their degrees in business or in some sort of professional field. Now, I'm really importantly not saying that's wrong, but the critical theorists have a point that that's a switch from what things used to be. It's not about education so much as it's about training. And in that, we go from an education that is founded and based in reason to an education that is founded and based in technocratic thinking, that idea of efficiency. We want to train people as efficiently as we can to get jobs that are going to be done as efficiently as possible because the world outside the university is rationalized. All right, that's it. That's their critique of the knowledge industry, which hits a little close to home, I'm going to be honest with you, because, look, I teach 100 or so students a semester. All my exams, at least at the point that I'm doing this, all my exams are pretty standardized. I do try to encourage you guys to write so that I can see you working through the information that I present in this class and think about how it applies, which is, I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit that is based on reason, because I want you to be a thoughtful person. But the constraints on me from the university are ones of technocracy. I am trying to, as efficiently as I can, deal with 100 students. And the critical theorists would say, I've been turned into a cog in the machine. Okay, to wrap up the critical theorists, again, they are dealing with macro societal issues, but how they affect individual human experience. And that's where this week functions as a transition from last week's grand theories to next week's theories of everyday life. We've got grand here. We're talking about the mass media. We're talking about our system of universities. We're talking about rationalization. These are all macroscopic phenomena. But we're also talking about the effect it has on our minds, that we are narcotized by mass media. My thinking is numbed from that. I've been turned into a technocratic thinker in a day-to-day way. I think in terms of efficiency rather than in terms of self-fulfillment. And today, what we're talking about is kind of that same not being encouraged to think in terms of reason, but being encouraged to think in terms of what are the means that I have to get through to get to the end, and not questioning what that end is. All right, that's it for our critical theorists. I personally find them to be pretty provocative. I like this stuff a lot. It'll be interesting to see what you guys think. Next week, we're going to move in a direction that's different, I think, than everybody that we've talked about, which is, I hope I said next time, not next week. In the next lecture, we're going to look at how macro society, specifically capitalism, affects our experience of physical space. This is taking us in a direction that sociology doesn't often go in, but I personally think it's really, really intriguing, and it makes you think about how stuff you just take for granted, getting in a car, walking on roads, all of that stuff, how it doesn't have to be that way. And it is that way in our country because of capitalism. So I'll see you guys, and we'll talk about that in the next video.